Dunk, 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 dunk.
Too
Too
many
many mittens.
mittens. Too many mittens. Mittens.
Are they holding too many mittens in their hands?
They certainly seem to be holding lots and lots of mittens in their hands. Let's find out why. Ned and Donnie are twins. They live in Michigan, where it is often very cold in the winter time, and there is a lot of snow and ice. Once, when their mother and father went on a trip, their grandmother came to stay with the boys. Grandma took very good care of Ned and Donnie. When they went outdoors, Grandma always said, "Let's zip you up nice and warm, and be sure to put on your red mittens." One day Donnie could not find one of his mittens. "I must have left it in Janie's yard yesterday," said Donnie. "Let's go look for it." But when Donnie and Ned looked in Janie's yard, they could not find the red mitten. Janie's mother said, "If we do find it, Janie will take it over to your house." And sure enough, a little later that day, Janie came to their house with a red mitten. Pardon me. "That's it," said Grandma. "Now let me clip it to your jacket, Donnie, so you won't lose it again." Twins were in school. Mrs. Brown, who lived next door, rang the doorbell. "I heard that one of the twins was looking for his red mitten," she said. "Here it is," and she gave Grandma a mitten that looked exactly like those the twins wore. "I suppose this does belong to them," said Grandma. "Their mother must have bought them an extra pair. Thank you, Mrs. Brown." And Grandma put the red mitten in a small drawer. That afternoon Ned came home from school with 3 mittens, the pair he had started out with, and an extra one. "Our teacher says this must be our red mitten," he said. "I suppose it is," said Grandma. "It looks just like the others," and she put this one in the drawer too. A few days later, after the boys had played in the snow in their own backyard, they came into the house and brought 2 more red mittens. "Are these yours?" asked Grandma. The boys were not sure. "But we did lose some mittens a few weeks ago," said Donnie, so Grandma put these mittens into the drawer with the other mittens. The postman came with the mail, mostly pretty picture postcards from the boys' mother and father, and brought another red mitten. "I found this on Elm Street," he said, "and someone said it must belong to the twins." Grandma stared at the mitten the postman put into her hands. "Thank you," she said quietly. And early next morning the man who collected garbage brought another red mitten. "I guess one of your boys lost this," he called out as he tossed the mitten on the back porch steps. Grandma picked it up and said, "Thank you, Mr. Tom." Then the milkman found 2 mittens and brought them to the house. And when Grandma and the boys went to the grocery store, the grocer reached down behind the counter and brought up a red mitten. "I've been saving this for the twins," he said. "They must have left it here last week." The man who drove the big package delivery truck stopped by, although he had no package to deliver. "Mrs. Miller down the street asked me to drop off this red mitten. She says it must belong to the twins," he said. Grandma put that mitten in the drawer too. Then Ned and Donnie took out all the red mittens Grandma had put into the drawer and counted them. They counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were now 10 red mittens in the drawer, and for the next few days, whenever anyone found a red mitten anywhere, that person brought it over to the twins' house. That's not the end.
Oh.
It's just getting good.
But it looks like them.
It does look like the end. That's a good point. You're right. It's a different looking page. Some books have pages like this in them. When the twins' mother and father came home, they had presents for everyone. A pretty scarf for Grandma, a new collar for Cat, and for the boys, 2 beautiful pairs of
mittens.
Bright red mittens. "Mittens!" exclaimed Grandma. "Mittens!" shouted the twins. "Don't you like them?" asked Mother. "Yes, but they have so many mittens," said Grandma. "Only 1 pair each, and they're getting worn," said Mother. "Only 1 pair?" Grandma and the boys looked at one another and laughed and laughed. "Come with me," said Grandma. So she led Mother to the mitten drawer, and when she pulled it out, up popped more red mittens than Mother or anyone else had ever seen before. "And the boys have a pair of mittens clipped to their jackets, too," said Grandma. "Where did these come from?" "They're not ours," said Mother. Grandma explained that everyone in the neighborhood knew that the twins had lost a red mitten, and every time a red mitten was found anywhere, people thought it belonged to the twins. So all these mittens had been brought to the house. What shall we do with them? They belong to other children who must need
So
them.
is I.
That's right, very good. But who are they? How shall we find them? I know, said Ned. Let's hang them on a line in the yard. We'll tell people who have lost red mittens to come and get them from our yard. Everyone thought this was a good idea, so they hung the mittens on a line in the backyard and tacked this sign on the front porch. And the sign says, "If you lost a red mitten, we have it." For a few days the mittens were rained on and snowed on. They froze and unfroze, but they waved gaily to and fro in the cold. And soon people heard about the lost mittens in the twins' backyard. Strangers came to the door. "My boy lost a red mitten," said one lady. "May I see if it is on your line?" Then a little girl rang the front doorbell. "May I please look in your backyard? I lost my red mitten," she said. And so it went for several weeks. Children and mothers and fathers came along, asking for lost mittens, until all but one mitten had been claimed. Indeed it is not. And that one red mitten, it looks like, that's right, it does look like it. But in this case, it's not. And that one red mitten flapped on the line for a few more weeks until Donnie said, "That mitten looks so lonely. Let's bring it into the house." "Yes," said Ned. Besides, winter is all over now, and nobody needs mittens anymore." So the last red mitten was taken down and put away with the snowsuits and warm caps, because winter had gone and spring had come. But when winter came again, whenever a red mitten was found in the neighborhood, it was brought to the twins' house. "If it doesn't belong to the twins," people said, "please put it on the lost mitten line so its owner can find it." And if that ever happens to you, if you ever lose a red mitten, go to Ned's and Donnie's house and ask if you can see the lost mitten line. It may be that your red mitten is hanging there too. The end.
Now it's the end.
Yes, that's the end.
But on the couple pages, it looked like
They did look like the end, you're right.